here. Good evening, everyone. My name is Sarah Ostwinkle. I'm from Makokata, Iowa, and I'm excited to be your guest speaker for this month. And we're just going to get started right in with some tips and ideas. I've always kind of been into time management because of my life has always been around direct sales. Just a tiny bit about my life. I started doing direct sales 28 years ago. But when I started direct sales, I was actually working for my father's asphalt company. And we had one little boy that was 3 when I joined. And so when I joined and then figured out that I could do this to make some money because I love the product so much, then I found out a few days after that I was pregnant with our second son. So the reason I tell you that is because I've worked in direct sales while having babies. I've worked in direct sales when the boys grew up. Austin's now 30, Hunter's now 26. And I've worked when they were teenagers because there's definite shifts in your business as the kids go through different ages. I almost feel like they need you more when they're teenagers. And in fact, I know they need you more when you're teenagers. So just to give you a little overview of my life, I then bought my dad's asphalt business like 20 some years ago, 23, 24 years ago. It's a 49-year-old company. It's just a small one. We just have 7 to 8 employees while I own it. When my dad had it, he had 6 kids. I'm the oldest of 6 kids. And so he had a lot more employees because he was feeding a lot more mouths. But we downsized it because we really wanted to keep it simple so it worked for our family. And why was I telling you that? Just because things have shifted in that business. So when I first started in it, I went to work with the family. But about 3 years ago, my estimator who had worked for my dad and then for me for 30 some odd years, he quit one day by fax. And so I had to take over the estimating. So that's been the biggest shift in my life. When the kids were all gone and I had all this time, I was really concentrating on my direct sales company that I was in before. But in the last 3 years, I've now taken over all the bidding, all the phone calls coming in. I go meet all the customers. I meet them I work on the crew during the day. I meet the customers in the afternoon and the evening. And then at night, I type after dark. So I'll type till 1 or 2 in the morning the bids, and then I get up and repeat. The reason I'm telling you that is because I know you can have a very successful company in Truora and in your life. Like if you have a career that you love or you need to do because it's your family's business, you can do that. It's just your choices and your decisions and your organization skills. And when the girl said to me, what could everybody talk about? I'm like, my main thing that makes me successful and very good at what I do on both companies is my organizational skills, because I couldn't do it if I didn't have that going on. Now, mind you, years ago, my leader in the company I was with before taught me that don't do things that you don't love to do. So I have a housekeeper. I do not cook. Like nothing. I don't cook at all. And so my husband loves to cook. So you got to find things in your life that allow you to live the life that you love. And when you make enough money to do that, you actually make more money when you're freed up of the things that don't make you money and that you don't enjoy doing. I like to clean my house, but I get too engrossed in it. And so I find a housekeeper on the everyday things is a very powerful thing for our house. The other thing is that in the wintertime, I don't blacktop at all. Like we don't bid. I don't take phone calls. I say we're on vacation for like 4 months. So the cool thing about my life is I know how to work very much full time, but then in the wintertime, I get to shift to where my hours are all my own. My minutes are my own. In the summer, I have no way of saying, oh, I'm going to book a party, 3 weeks from now. I don't know where I'll be 3 weeks from now. But I've also learned to make that work too. So here's some tips and tricks that I will give you as we're going along. And feel free to type in the chat. I've got a helper girl. She's watching the chat for me. And if I get to talking too long, I'll come back and answer some of those with your leaders individually if you need me to, because you can talk about organization skills, like Melissa said, 2 hours and not even have it all done. So we'll get going. Okay. The biggest thing that I learned from one of our presidents in my previous company is you need to slow down to speed up. And so I do a lot of slowing down and then going really fast again. So you'll see that in my habits, but I do that quite often, and I'll explain that. The other thing that is a key factor is you must treat your business as a business. Like, seriously, it is your business. And I'll teach you things to do that. I live in a little tiny town of 6,000 people, and it was hard for me to think of myself as truly a businesswoman until I realized, like, I do $1 million business from my little home in, Makokata, Iowa. That is more than most doctors make. So you've got to remember that the potential is there for you. And if you don't look at it as a business, you're just robbing yourself of all that potential. So treat it as a business. I speak about doctors because one thing is that you need to set business hours and days that you work. And then don't work the days that you say you're not going to work. Now, is there flexibility in that? Absolutely. I go to Mexico the month of December, usually 3-4 weeks. And so, of course, I'm not working every day that I'm down there. But sometimes my team doesn't even know I'm gone, and my clients don't know I'm gone because I can do all that from the other countries, which is so cool. Even more so easier with this new company that we work with. So that's super awesome. But the reason I mention a doctor is you don't go up to the window at the doctor's office to make your next appointment, and the little lady at the desk say, so when would you like to come back? Anytime. What time works for you? What day works for you? Anytime. You would never hear that from them. Not your hairdresser, not any business person would ever say that. In fact, they say my next opening is bam. And they tell you when they can fit you in next. And so that's the way we need to be. We need to be like business owners that says my next opening is this date. Do you want that appointment? No, you don't want that one? Well, then here's my next one. You don't flop your date book on the ground and say any appointment, any day, I'm open any day. No, that will not lead to success. Your family will not like your business, and you won't either, because you'll miss important things in life if you don't treat your business as a business. Okay, that being said, set business hours. Find out what day you work. I hate working Friday. I hate working Saturday. I'll work Sunday afternoon, okay? And so for years, I just plain wouldn't do parties on Saturday. And everybody, I would say, so, what day would you like? I have weeknights. I'm like, oh, we really need a Saturday. I'm like, nope, I don't work Saturdays. And I'm telling you, out of 1,000 parties that I would say that to, only one that I have to have on a Saturday. So what I've done in my lifetime is there's a Saturday, usually in green, that I'm willing to give up one Saturday a month. But in my heart, I know that is not officially a work day because I don't want to work Saturday. Now that's just how I choose to do it. My family does a lot of fun stuff on the weekends, or my asphalt crew my employees don't want to work on the weekends, so I go work on the parking lots on the weekends in the summer. So find your days, then set your business hours. So that if a girlfriend calls and says, hey, can I come over? Can I just stop in? You're like, I'm working right now. Because if you're just like, sure, come on over, they get into that routine of thinking they can just pop in whenever. You're working. We work from our home, okay? So set your business hours. That's also so helpful for your family. So here's some tips as the kids got older, since I've been doing this for so long, that I found was very helpful for myself and my team. Okay, I'm going to mute Al right here because she's echoing a little bit. Okay. So when the kids were babies, I chose to start my parties at 7:30 at night. That's because I found Chris couldn't handle feeding them. He couldn't put the baby food in their mouth, just saying. It was too much. It was too stressful. It didn't do well for our marriage. So I learned that I needed to have my parties a little bit later in the day, in the evening, so that then I could stay home, and help him get the kids situated when they were babies, okay? And what I also did when the kids were teeny tiny babies is that I would choose a week to do parties, and I would do 5 or 6 parties in 1 week. So here's how I did that. Back then, in those days, I did Wednesday, Thursday, and 3 on Saturday, 10, 2, and 7. I love to do Saturdays. If I'm going to work them, I love to do 3 parties in a day if I have to. And you are a party machine. By the last party, you're pumped, you're on adrenaline, and you're having a great old day. You can't believe the power in that. If you're ever a single parent and you think, oh, I can't do this because I only get my kids every other weekend, I have to really concentrate on the kids. So I helped a gal get her Mustang by suggesting that. Her kids were gone every other weekend. So she did 1 Friday night, 3 on Saturday, 1 or 2 on Sunday. And she blew through and got a Mustang, okay, in the company that when it was offered to them before. So what I would do is I'd really concentrate high amounts of time in a certain week, because then Chris had the kids. He knew it. That was in his brain. But then the following week, I would stay home the whole week, and I would talk to my clients, send thank you notes, all those things that need to be done in the week that I was then staying home, and concentrate on locking in on my next week. So that's just a suggestion when you got babies. When my kids were teenagers, that's when I really started not doing parties on Saturdays. I needed to be home with those kids. They needed me to be chaperoning or watching all the other kids in the neighborhood, and they're at our house, at our pool, riding their dirt bikes or whatever they were doing. And then the other thing is that I found that I wanted to tuck my kids in at night. Like, our family always prayed together at night, every night. And we also rubbed each other's feet. Whoever was the most stressed got their feet rubbed. And I used to share that at all my parties, because there is such a connection with your kids when you spend that time, when they know that they're that important. And I would call as I get in the car, I'm like, I'm on the way. Is everybody still awake? Because as teenagers, you can make them stay awake a little bit longer. And our kids grew up to be really stinking awesome kids. And I really feel a lot of that is because they always felt that they were so important to me that I would shut my parties off. And I'll tell you, it really taught me how to make a party go that was kind of getting way out there, to bring it in again. Because I'd say, ladies, I tap my watch. I'm like, if we're going to be here till midnight, I got to call my family. And they're like, midnight? No, I'll be good. I'll shut up. That kind of thing. So if you want your parties to be over by a certain amount of time, you're the businesswoman. Stick to it. And just make it like a joke. Hey, midnight. I would just tap my watch. Midnight. Here we go. We're hitting midnight. And they're like, no, we can't be here till midnight. And I'm like, okay, I don't want to be either. So let's be quiet and get going. But that worked when the kids were teenagers. I just really felt like I needed to be home at night. Okay, the other thing that the kids always did, and as we always treated this as a family business. Chris does a lot of things. He does the cooking, right? The boys always, since they're itty bitty, they would unpack the boxes. I never opened a box. That was their job. When the family feels they're connected, that saves you minutes. But they feel that they're so important that they grew up taking those products out of the bag, out of the box. Okay. So even today, well, not today, the other day, my assistant, I never open a box. And it's really tempting sometimes, because there's things in there that are new and you want to try them. It stays shut till she opens it. And then she knows what to give me. The rest she puts on the shelf, I don't touch. So when the kids were itty bitty, they would line the bottles up just random. As they got older, I made them match them. As they got even older, I made them put the labels on. So these are all things that you shouldn't do. That doesn't make you money. So have the family do that kind of stuff, because it's very helpful. Some other things the kids always did is they kept the cars clean for me. It's very important in organization that you have clean surroundings, clean organization, so that then you feel like you're successful and that clutter doesn't get in your brain, okay? Labels on, told you that. Hostess packets, welcome packets, all things the kids do, okay? I told you that. I told you that. See, I get to talking. And then, okay, so here's another really, really powerful thing that I feel is crucial in time management and being successful, but yet very busy, is before I go to bed at night, I make a plan for the next day. And Franklin Covey tells you that, like anybody you talk to about organization and being successful, oops, and you should mute your phone when you're doing a call. Okay, so that is very important, to make a list, make your plan before you go to bed at night. I wash my face at the sink. I have a little, my team all knows this because I travel with it, a little gray bag with blue pinstriping. It goes to bed with me no matter what bed I'm in, because I do a lot of traveling. I do not use my toner at the sink. I do not use any of my products at the sink. I go to bed, wind down, and that's where I start thinking, what am I going to do the next day? I put a layer of products on. Okay, now I think about this. Okay, now I do this. The thing we end up with is what? Foot treatments, right? Because you really need to take care of yourself to be very successful at this. You got to be using your products and fitting them into your life. Let me see who's talking. Fitting them into your life to be able to telling other busy people that they can use these products too. My products go to bed with me. And then as I wind down, I have my date book, okay? And what I do is I turn to that day of the week, and then I make a list of everything that I want to do on paper the next day. So we got somebody like shuffling papers. Be quiet a minute, maybe it'll tell me who, and then I can mute them. Okay. All right. So the list in the date book, I'm going to tell you why I do certain things on paper and why I do things on electronic. The list of everyday, like things I just got to do tomorrow that aren't going to be repeated are always written in on my date book. First of all, when you go to do your taxes, it is awesome to know where you've been every day and how many miles you may be traveled. So it's good to have a list of where you're going the next day, all right here at your fingertip. Now, can you do that on the computer too or in your phone? Absolutely. But there's some reasons why I choose not to. And if I have time, I'll get into that. But a tip that I learned from one of my team members here recently is I love, instead of crossing off the list, I now put a V for victory. V for victory.
Carolyn, it's Karen. There are, I think, 2 individuals that need to mute. They're on phones.
Okay, let me go down and do that. There's one phone.
Right. 1, 2. Sarah Smith is not muted, and whoever, Ronald DR.
Okay. Thank you, Karen. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
I'm not making any noise.
Okay, so let me just mute you though, Ronald.
I think we got the, yeah, I think it was the
I think
phone.
we're good. All right.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I was trying to find them. I couldn't find them. Thank you, Karen. Okay, so I think it's cool that when we get to cross things off, it's very invigorating, but I've learned now to put a V for victory next to it. Just something kind of fun. That's the thing about organization. You got to give yourself little rewards. If something's fun, you need to do it while you're being organized so that you don't end up not enjoying organization or you're not going to do it. Okay, you need to have little tips and tricks. Okay, I have always taken sticky notes next to my bed because I love to make a note literally in the middle of the night, a busy brain. That's just how I am. I wake up and think of something really cool. Next morning, sometimes you wake up and it was the stupidest idea you ever thought of. But I like to write them down so I then can go back to bed and quit thinking about it. But one of the girls on our team, she literally just takes her Kleenex box and turns it on its side. And then that reminds her of what it was she was thinking about. That way she's not sitting there writing something down and waking herself more up too much. So I thought that was excellent. Then if she thinks of 2 things through the nighttime, she stands her Kleenex box up on its end. And she said just seeing her Kleenex box on its side or up on its end instead of face up allows her to remember what she was thinking. Shelly, you got your hand up. No, you don't. Okay. You don't be doing waving. I see those things. Oh, hold on. Unmute. Okay, what's that? Oh, well, we can't unmute you for some reason. Okay.
I said I was scratching my eye.
Oh, well, heavens forbid.
But about the Kleenex,
Yeah.
I like that physical movement of something to remind you, and I've read about that before, but I was just laughing to myself thinking, if I did that, I'd see my Kleenex box, and then I'd go, what was it I was thinking of? And I'd forget.
As we get a little older, we better write it on the Kleenex box.
Exactly. Sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. Very good. Well, I just thought that that was such a good tip. If you've got a strong brain and you can remember the Kleenex box is way better than me turning on the light and writing it down on my sticky note. All right. So I told you that, told you that, told you that. Trying paper, David. Okay. So let me see. Let me make sure. Okay. The other thing I've talked about a little bit is find certain days that you're going to work. That is so important. I feel that the success of my companies, both of them, is because the family, we have a family meeting. Like they knew when they were little kids that, okay, I'm going for this trip now. And so certain things are going to not be done while I'm pushing a little harder for this trip. I've always told myself, and it's a saying that you've probably heard many, many times, you can do anything you want to do, extra work, anything you want to do for a short period of time, right? And then after a while, you might need to take a little vacation. And I do that. I'm all about, like, in the middle of the day, it seems that things get really quiet, like around 2:30, 3 o'clock. I love to go out and just sit by the pool for an hour, right? So you should do things that really, that calm you and build you back up again. Remember how I said you have to slow down to then speed back up again? If you don't charge yourself up with something you enjoy doing, you don't have the power to continue on. It's not fun to continue on. So you got to find the things that you love to do. Some of you love to exercise. Personally, I walk on parking lots way too many hours in the summer months to even I have to give my feet a break. But other girls I know stop and have chocolate or stop and have a cup of tea. But whatever that is, reward yourself along the way. Okay? All right, if someone says I need to work, I have a day list of repeated. Okay, so there's several things that I have done. Carol, are we doing okay on the questions? I forgot to ask you. Are we doing okay? Okay, thank you, honey. Okay, there's several things that I have found in my lifetime that allow me to, so like different times I've gone all electronic, and then I just don't like it, or it feels like something's not right. And then other times I go all date book, and then you lose your date book. And then it's like, shoot. So I learned over the years that there's really no all one way. My style, it feels like I have to do certain things on paper, certain things in my date book, right? It's hard for me to book my appointments when I have to hand someone my phone so that they can see my next 2 openings. If I'm talking to one client, it just was too hard to hand her, you know, and she's trying to see the other one. So I found when it comes to booking parties, I have to have my date book. That's my personal opinion. And what I do is I put them in a certain color. It's always green for money. I think, Karen, you said that when we were down at Empower. I've always used green for money. And when those spots are open, then they know that they're available. And I say that as I end my party so that then if someone wants to grab my date book and start looking at it while I'm working with someone else, they can do that. So I just found a date book worked the best for booking appointments that were like, I'll tell you what's in my date book. Like all my doctor's appointments are in my date book. All my parties, all my conference calls are in my date book. Things that I want to make sure that I do not miss and that are kind of randomly, like weddings are all in my date book. I need to be able to look at and plan. Anything I'm planning, I should say, is in my date book. Okay. Now, what is in my electronic? I tried iPhones. I have both an iPhone and an Android. It's the asphalt world and the direct sales world, 2 phones. But I find that I personally like Google, Google, Gmail, because Gmail syncs to my iPhone. It also syncs to my other phone. I can do a calendar through my G, and I have something called G Tasks with an S. And so all that syncs to all the phones. Like it's everywhere. It's in my computer. It'll go to my iPad when my iPad's hooked to the Wi-Fi. Like I don't miss anything on a steady basis. So what do I have electronically? I have electronically anything that needs an alarm, first of all. So I hate thinking all day long, oh my goodness, I gotta do that call. I don't want to miss with Shelly and Melissa and Karen. I gotta do that call. So I set an alarm, and the alarm goes off 15 minutes before and then 5 minutes before, because it used to be that it would be 15 minutes before and that would get me ready. You know, I could like wind down with a client, but then I get busy when the client left. I think, oh, I have 5-10 minutes, and I'd missed the call altogether or start it halfway through. And in my heart, that made me so anxious. I'm like, I have got to fix that. So anything that makes you anxious and it's not working for you, fix it, change it. Don't do the same things over and over again, okay? So that's how I've learned to use my reminders in my phone. For example, I take vitamins 3 times a day, and a reminder comes up on my phone and bings both phones, and I will not shut that notification off until I take the vitamins. See, I cannot remember to do all this in my own brain. That would not be wise. You must find tips and tricks to be able to keep yourself very much in sync. The busiest people who use the tools around them are what make people very successful. Okay, I told you that. Okay, the other thing that I like to do with my date book is the colors. I'm sure you all do that too. That's probably nothing new, like different colors for different things. However, I have found the coolest thing. I hate whiteout, and when I would write things in with a pen, I'd be like, shoot, now I got to change that. So Stephanie Beckett, a dear friend of mine, she gave me these pens, a pack of these pens. They are the best pens. So they erase. Now, I will tell you that I sat my plate of supper on it the other day, and I left it on for about a half hour. When I picked it up, the information was gone off the page, which is not good when you work outside on a blacktop business. So, but that's the first time it ever did that. And someone had warned me of that. And the cool thing is I could twist the paper and still see the so just a little heads up. But I am deeply in love with these pens. I've blown through so many sets of these pens because they erase, right? They erase, and they leave no mark in my date book. and they leave none of the crumbs. There's nothing to come off of the eraser. So they're really, really, really great pens. Friction clicker pilot pens. Okay, they're fantastic pens, and that allows me to make marks on my date book, but keep my date book very clean. Because remember, if I'm going to hand my date book to somebody, I hated when I had whiteout all over it and change this and change that and scratch here and scratch. It needs to look organized. It needs to look very clean. So just a little tip for you there on keeping your date book organized. Okay, let me look here for a second. Okay, all right. So then another thing in organization that's very, very important is that the things that are around you need to be things that you use often. So anything within an arm's reach of my desk is something I use on a daily basis, okay? So I put my makeup on almost every day. Sometimes when it's 100 degrees on outside, I don't do it anymore because we have such nice skin. First time in my entire life of asphalting that I go to work sometimes without makeup on, which just blows my mind. But our skin is just different. It's just so good. Okay, so my makeup is always right here with me. However, if you're someone who runs out the door on a whim all of a sudden, I also have always makeup packed to go. You can get little travel size containers and have them in a bag. I can literally get a phone call, maybe need to go somewhere for a couple of days. So everything stays very, solid here at my desk. So it's all right where I want to reach it, but also everything's always packed. I can literally pack for Celebrate or for Empower or anything like that within a few hours, because I also, in my G task, I have a list of travel things. And if I forget something on a certain trip, I go back in and write it down. I rarely forget anything because it's all on the list. If I'm going away for a weekend or if I'm going to a asphalt convention, there's certain things I take to that compared to the Truora convention. So each travel place in G task has its own travel list, so you'd never forget anything. It's a fantastic way to be very calm all the time. Remember, I say you have to slow down to speed up. So you have to slow down, make that list, to then speed up. Okay, so everything within your touch should be things that you use daily. Here's the next tip. If you don't use something after a week, move it. Get it in a drawer, get it in a cupboard, get rid of it off your desk. If it's something that's not touched on a weekly basis, put it away, because otherwise you have to dust it, or your housekeeper does, or you have to clean it, right? And that's just not necessary. It's things you have to look at, and it messes with your brain. You should never have to touch things 2 or 3 times that you don't use on a regular basis. The next thing I encourage you to do, if you don't use things for a month, put them in a box and put them in the attic or the basement, wherever you store things. I know you freak out if you have to throw things away, because that's about what I'm to tell you to do next. After that box has been there like a year, you should do spring cleaning every spring. We kind of remind ourselves every spring, go ahead and start cleaning in the spring. And if things have been in that box for a year, just toss the box, people. Okay? Because that's stuff you don't need. There's just no reason in this electronic world that you have to save a bunch of papers or something. It's always going to be there. One of us will always have it for you. So if you don't have it in a year, toss it. Right. The last thing that I will tell you is that what I do with my receipts to be very organized. Our family one time was audited, and our accountant went to the audit, but because I'm so careful with all my tax write-offs and everything, that I actually found more, and the government ended up owing us money. So that is a really good spot to be in, because I've heard of other people that didn't have it go that way. So remember how I told you that I write down, in my date book where I'm going to be daily, and that's just because I'm going to do that for that day. However, I do save my date books. Taxes, you should save for like 7 years, I believe it is. And so they're all in a box in the attic for 7 years, and I roll them out every spring, whatever's the 7 year. And I keep my date books, because in there is your day-by-day information of where you've been. So that's fantastic for taxes. So what I did when I did my own bookkeeping, as I did my bookkeeping every Monday. Every Monday was my bookkeeping day, okay? And you too need to figure out your day, your time, your hour that you're going to do your bookkeeping. I hate bookkeeping. But if you don't do it, it ends up costing you so much more money. You have no idea where you've been on that receipt when it comes in from Starbucks. If lo and behold, you took, Shelley and Ward and I went to Starbucks, and that's a tax write-off. But if you just see a Starbucks receipt there, you think, oh my goodness, I don't want to, what if that wasn't a tax write-off? But it was, see? So those receipts are very important. I keep a book that I'm reading in this is the book I'm reading right now because it's really good. So I just keep a book in my, I keep a book in my purse that I'm carrying with me. And every receipt that I get, I just open a page and put it in the book. So they stay nice and organized and inside my book, just anywhere. And then once a week on Monday, actually it's during Nate and Rick's call. So those of you who are on there with me, that's what I'm doing. I'm cleaning out my book, and all the receipts go in the old days in a box. And then once a month, I would go through and put all those receipts into systems. That's a whole nother story. But now, of course, I set them on the spot for my dear daughter-in-law, who takes very good care of me, and my personal assistant. So you must find tips and tricks like that work for you and your family. I know Karen Eckel, her husband loves to do her books. That's fantastic. Then put him in charge of that, so that you can not be weighted down on things that you don't enjoy doing. Okay, I'm going to show you this. Share my screen. So we hear a lot right now about the hour of power, and our team always has used the hour of power worksheet. And we have a simplified one for those of us like me that this is too much information. But that's because I have systems already. I just need the hour of power paper to be able to make sure that I'm doing it, making myself do it. And so I have this one up here, and I can definitely send it to your leaders if you want it. Let me know. But this is a great one for people who are just getting started. And Jerry Cozine made it for us, and she updated it with all True Aura information, which was wonderful. So we took several different tools and created them into one with a lot of details. I love this one down here where down at the bottom, the 15-minute business support tasks, like, do I owe somebody money or does somebody owe me money? I mean, these are all things that if you don't have a little spot to remember it, you could overlook that and maybe, not forget about some money that you should be paying you, okay? I like the reminder of order True Aura literature. I like the reminder of being purse ready, right? We want to be purse ready. So that's another thing I wanted to talk to you about. I have always, since True Aura started, I've always carried the day lotion in my purse as a hand cream. It's always ready to go all the time. I don't want to make samples. I want to have the full-size bottle so they can see it when I pump it. Here we go. So that's how I'm purse ready. Of course, my business cards are in there. But the other big thing, I'm not really into paper. I don't want to hand someone a business card. I want to pull out my phone. I open up Contact. While I'm talking, I just hand it to them. They put in their information. I don't even say nothing. They're just doing it. They do it automatically while they're listening to me. I take it back and I go to my contacts. And at the top of my contacts is one called, I don't know if you'll be able to see that, AA Sarah Lynn True Aura. So it's not buried in my contacts. All I have to do is just open contacts, and then what's in there is my website, okay? So that when I'm talking to someone, all I have to do is hold my finger down while I'm talking to them, hit copy to clipboard. They just put their information in my phone. I go send them my website, bam, just like that. You should have that website at your fingertips all the time. That's what I do at my parties too. Send everybody that in their text or email or whatever they want, so they can all right away get on the website and start getting their orders and getting their systems into my business. I find in my area anyway, the app kind of freaks people out. They're like, well, I don't want to put any more stuff into my phone. I'm like, okay, no problem. So instead of making a big to-do about it, once they're my customers, I tell them about the app, and I love to talk about the app. But I find using the website, everybody understands a website. Everybody knows how to work a website. So I found that to be a really awesome organizational tip so that you can go quickly when you're communicating with people. Let's see what else. I told you that, told you that, told you that. Good enough. Okay, is there anything else? I think I said everything. Let me take you off of screen, stop share. And let's see, I'd love to have this doc. Okay, Tammy. Let's see. Karen, can I copy this chat somehow? I know that's a possibility. Can I copy that chat so I can go back and look and answer people's, or Shelly, would you know? I don't see Melissa anymore. Maybe she's gone. You know what? I'll just grab it quick. There we go. I'm grabbing it. Copy. I'll slam it in a Word.
I'm not sure.
That's okay. I grabbed it. I'm putting it in a Word doc.
Okay, yeah, it should be, Shelley said it should be with your recorded info. And that's,
Okay.
yeah, that's what
All
I
right.
was.
Cool. I got it. That way I can see who needs what. So, okay, that's really it. That's really all that I needed to tell you. That, I mean, like I said, you can go on and on and on. And the biggest thing is that find your system that works for you. Take one or two things. I was telling some of the girls who got on with me earlier, when I went back and listened to the recording we did like a month ago about time management, I was like, oh yeah, that was one thing I was going to put into action. And every time I hear something on time management, you just take two or three things and start putting them into your life. Don't overwhelm yourself with too much stuff or you won't do any of it. Slow down. Think about what we taught you tonight to be able to speed up. Because as you go flying into this promotion here, you've got everything it takes to do that in your back office. Oh my word, our resource guide, all of our tools, and they're always at your fingertips. So you're never without what you need. So you can walk around with confidence as you share Truora with everybody, everywhere you go. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for being on with us. I will just stop a second and see if anybody has any questions or comments or ideas. There is one more.
Sarah Lynn.
Yes, honey.
Karen Watson, I don't know if everybody sees her comments. She says, keep your receipts all physically or take a pic and add to Evernote.
Oh, that's excellent, Karen. Thank you. Love that.
That's a good idea.
Love that. Add to Evernote. Awesome. Here's one last thing. I showed this on the stage at Empower. I have my traveling office with me all the time in my binder. So some of the I have a goal of how much I want to sell. So I have every one of Karen's TLC papers printed off, the amount of ones that I want us to use to get people hooked on TLC. I have them already printed in here so that when they're gone, I know I've reached my goal. Okay, so print your tools, have them at your fingertips so that you don't not have what you need in your binder. Another thing I have, oh my word, you guys, have you started the Getting Started book with Truora? That is fantastic. Our team's like doing a weekly call so that we all go through it and we work the Getting Started book. And so I have that in here. I will always carry that in here. Yeah, because your consultants call you about something, you got your information. The other thing I have in here, and I printed it in cardstock, is the compensation plan. So that sometimes it's hard to read that stuff on your phone when you're going down the road, you know, and you're trying to talk to somebody. So make sure you print off the comp plan and put that in here. And then the other thing is anytime I fill out one of Karen's forms, we were using this one before, I have all my TLC client forms here with me too, so that they're at my fingertips. I keep track of their passwords and pins because they often forget them. So what I personally do is I use the same password and pin like related to each person so that I can remember when I'm just winging it. But if they created their own, I even ask them what is it so I can help them remember. And then I keep that in my file and it's always with me.
Sarah Lynn, sorry. Marilyn wants to know how to get that TL sheet.
So whose team are you on, Marilyn? Just type.
Melissa.
Oh, Melissa. She has it, I'm sure, the TLC form. Yep. And if she doesn't, she can get it from Karen Watson because Karen created it. And we're all connected, all of us girls, so we're good. You got the tools you need. Good question, because that's a great tool. Keep it simple. Don't need a big fancy form for all that. But sometimes we do, like in my area, Wi-Fi and internet doesn't work a lot of the times, and I don't want to be stuck putting it on something that I won't find again. You got to be organized. That's money in your hand, and you can't mess around with those, TLCs. You want their details, and you need them. Keep them ready to go. So that tool is crucial. Okay, I'm going to hit the stop record. Thank you so much for being on, but I'll stay on and answer any other questions you have. But I just really appreciate your time, and it was my honor to be with our worker girls. Congratulations to all of you, $300 and higher girls. That is fantastic. Keep rocking it out. You're at the right spot. No.
Thank you, Sarah Lynn.
You bet. You bet.